welcome back to this I-24 News Evening Edition. I'm Lucy Arish, and this is the Daily Debate. On Friday, a lone gunman opened fire in Los Angeles airport, killing one person. The incident once again shines a harsh light on airport security. Israel's Ben Gurion Airport is considered one of the most secure in the world, as it is based on the premise of find the attacker and you prevent the attack. But this mentioned is also open to charges of racial profiling. Joining me tonight to discuss airport security is Dr. Karmon, senior researcher at the International Institute for Counterterrorism. Good evening. Thank you very much for coming to the studio. And Mena Bacharach. Right? Yep. I'm saying it correctly. Brigadier General on Reserve. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome you both. Thank you very much for coming to the studio. What is Israel doing right that somebody else is doing wrong? Dr. Karmon.
First of all, we have a lot of experience and painful experience since the late 60s and beginning of the 70s. And we learned on our skin, okay? So we had also failures. And because we learned lessons, so we adapted to the changing situations. Because at the beginning there were hijackings of airplanes, we stopped it, then they attacked the checkpoints, and then stopped them, they attacked the pilots and the hotels, so they also adapted. So it's a long fight, and no 100% proof that you can't stop everything.
Well, I think, first of all, Dr. Karmon is completely right. What we did, we evaluate all the terrorist activities and the modus operandi of the terrorist organization, and we come under the understanding and the assumption, working assumptions, that most of the passengers and the visitors in the airports are bona fide. They are coming to take a plane from point A to point B. Only a tiny percentage of passengers are the one which we have to be careful about them. So the whole Israeli system, as we call it, built on security circles. And the idea behind it that we will try to concentrate only on the problematic. So we develop a system which we called the profile system, how to identify those problematic passengers.
Sometimes when you identify, like we said, it creates, racist profiling, maybe somebody who looks Arab, somebody who have an ethnic look, and it is a big issue in the Israeli media, in the Israeli society, within the Israeli Arab, especially society inside Israel.
I believe it's, and I know that my view is not so popular, but it's hypocrisy. If you evaluate who was behind most of the terrorist activities, starting in aviation, I'm talking basically from 1968, the waves of terrorist attack, I don't think that you will find a lot of Swedish over there. I doubt if you will find any people which are coming from another region, which means that when you are trying to classify and to identify the characteristic of the potential terrorist, unfortunately, most of them came from this origin. And since we are trying to focus on the problematic one and not wasting all our resources, money and efforts on the entire flight, and if I take as an example, a Boeing 747, I have 464 passengers, it will be stupid to concentrate on all those 464. I'm trying to find only maybe one or two.
So can we say that all Arabs in Israel are suspects?
No, not at all, but I think that also this is not true that we are profiling only the Arabs. There are a lot of Europeans. We had a lot of cases, for instance, young French girls, Dutch girls, British girls, which came with explosives. And I remember one of the cases, a very primitive Peruvian Indian girl And you have to deal with all these cases because it's not only the Arab or the Islamist, if you want, today. So this is more complex than profiling the Arabs. For instance, if somebody which is very European and very, even, I would say, some intellectual which comes here, but he has stamps from Iran or from Syria, clearly at the airport he is looked differently from somebody with the same profiling, but coming directly from Paris and not having this kind of, it's not a sign that he is doing something wrong, but the security at the airport has to take care and to check that he is not a security risk.
And again, I will give you a personal experience that I had in the airport, that I have every time in the airport, unfortunately. But I go there. I completely understand what you're saying. I completely accepted that Israel was facing a lot of threats from Arabs, from Muslims that were unfortunately not only but the majority of the attacks were by Muslims and by Arabs. But I don't have a problem with security checks. I have a problem with the attitude towards people who are coming, towards Arab who are coming, that the security guards and the security officials are actually treating them as suspects from the minute that they get into the airport. And this is something that me, as an Israeli citizen in Israel, this is something that makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable.
I fully agree with you. Me too. I don't like it at all, and I think this is lack of professionality. I was heading the security in UK in the beginning of the 80s, and this was one of the emphasis that we did to our staff. I think that everybody is innocent, and it's if you are not professional, you will find, unfortunately, this kind of behavior and treatment. I fully agree with you. It's lack of professionality.
It's lack of professionality, but it actually makes it, because it seems that the security is not changing. Like the security approach is not changing towards people who are coming, towards Arabs, towards suspects that are coming to foreign correspondent, for example, who are coming to Israel or getting out of it.
I think that indeed there are some people which are not, even if you have to check somebody, you can do it in a polite way.
Of course.
In a say, not to hurt the people that you are speaking with, interrogating even. And this, unfortunately, this part of sometimes of the Israeli culture, you see, to be impolite, even to older people who are not Arab. I mean, sometimes they are not behaving
even foreign journalists who come to Israel or get out of Israel.
So I understand. I think this is an issue that should be taught by the higher level of the people responsible for security and impose itself on the younger people which are doing the job, the good job, but which have to learn to behave.
So how come nobody's doing anything? How come nobody's changing this approach?
First of all, I know from
because I have to tell you, to stay in my underwear every time that I'm going to the airport, it's not something that I that I appreciate too much.
Probably you did something in your past which...
You think?
I don't know, probably.
I have believed.
There is a reason for everything. But I know that they are
I
trying...
can tell you that I have a blank paper.
No, but seriously, I think that they are trying their best in order to educate. I am not standing on their to justify what they are doing, but you have to understand, I mean, you don't have to understand, but the fact that there are very young people are doing this job, and sometimes they are doing it from early morning. And one of the issues that, one of the most important subject in having a good security network is to be on your toes 24 hours. And how we are keeping it? By drills, supervision and controls. And those guys are all the time, they are looking for the most of the time, not for the terrorists, they are looking for somebody from the management which are trying to infiltrate
do some
through the
tests.
network. And sometimes when they see what we call more than 1 or 2, 3, 4 suspicious signs, they think to themselves, oh boy, there is a drill
There
here.
is a drill and there is a checkup on us.
And
So I will take it
and
as
some-
somebody who thinks
and
that I'm a
sometimes
high
it's
officer or something.
And sometimes it's an innocent passenger which going through hell. But again, I don't justify it, but I can tell you that I came back from Germany on last Friday, and the treatment was like I'm a terrorist, but this is every time happens.
Yeah, but you know, the difference between the U.S. and that everybody are passing the same security,
This is the huge
the same
difference.
security check.
This is the huge difference between the Israeli method to the European and the American.
So this is exactly
method.
the point that I want to touch is what is exactly, if there is a difference, and what is exactly the difference? Because I have to say, although I'm complaining, but I have to say that I really feel safe when I'm in the Israeli, in Ben Gurion airport, because I know that it is safe.
The system based upon, again, a logic explanation, and this is based upon prevention, detection, and reaction. Now, in Los Angeles airport 2 days ago, I believe that the prevention and detection didn't work. The reaction probably worked quite quickly, I understand. I read it in the newspaper. I don't have any
What
information.
exactly went wrong there? Because it seems that, you know, after September 11th, it seems that the Americans learned the lesson.
Yeah, but he arrived at the checkpoint where is the first real check, okay? So as a normal American, he can arrive from his house, and it seems that it is not a simple incident. It's a terror act because the guy probably is a radical right-wing American. He had a kind of letter with some clues that he's from the patriotic movement. And so he probably, if it's indeed a case of ideological terrorism, so he prepared himself. He knew the people around. He understand how it works. And he simply killed the first people. By the way, he wanted to kill the TSA, the security officers, not the public, because he is acting against the government, against the
Is it something that America didn't expect, to actually start looking for solutions from, or actually starting to have fears from inside terrorism and not outside terrorism?
They had already the Oklahoma bombing. It was, by the way, the same kind of terrorist which has had some ideological documents with him. There was a case in Atlanta, I think, with a small plane that crashed in the building, and the guy also in the plane, he had a letter with this kind of ideological, radical right-wing ideology. So there are cases of also of international terrorism in the United States. And as I said, you cannot stop everyone, especially in the United States, where we see a lot of incidents in schools, in the streets, in the supermarkets. People go crazy. And they have weapons, no problem to have a weapon. And if they are decided, you cannot stop them at this stage.
Where is it going? Where is the security measuring in airports? Is it going in the next few years? Or are we on top of everything?
We are, definitely we are not. It's moving more and more to the technology. And we are now starting to use very sophisticated technology like video analytic, which is integration of all the CCTV system with some kind of rules to replace the human being, the actual security officer. And it goes to face recognition system. And there is a development also, not only face recognition, but movement recognition patterns.
So you're basically being monitored from the first second that you're getting into the airport until you're getting on
Don't tell me
plane.
you don't know it.
Yes, it's based on psychology and on behavior of other terrorists, as we know them, and then integrated inside the biometrics and the CCTVs, and all this system is, unfortunately, it's against human rights, if you want.
Mr. Bacharach, thank you very much for coming. Dr. Karmon, thank you very much for coming. And at least they thought that I'm a supreme official or something. We're going on for a 10 minutes break, and then we're coming back for the I-24 News one-on-one. Tom Hanks is with us, not here, but on an interview.